Welcome to the Emerging Lawyer at the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is banking, law, big wins, and breaking barriers. We are at AWFIS co-working space, and today is uh, celebrating Women's Day. But this is a special moment also. Today, हमारे guest speaker का birthday भी है. So happy birthday, Rohit.
Thank you.
So let me introduce our guest speaker, Rohit Sharma, partner at Phoenix Legal. Uh, from handling high value cross border transactions to restructuring some of the most complex corporate financial deals, Rohit Sharma has seen it all. Today, he will unravel the world of banking and finance law. He has worked across India's top legal firms. He will share insider insights on structured finance, insolvency, and private equity investments. But there is more to him than just high stake deals. We'll also dive into his personal journey, the quirks of being a lawyer, and what keeps him grounded outside the world of finance law. So get ready for a power packed conversation filled with legal wisdom, career defining moments, and some fun surprises along the way. So, welcome Rohit to Raise Coffee Conversation episode.
Thank you.
So, let me explain you the flow and the format, Rohit. We have got 3 rounds: professional, personal, and a rapid fire fun round, for which your birthday gift is also there. But rapid fire में you have to be bit fun and quick, and
Okay.
ये आपका gift भी मिलेगा आपको,
ठीक है.
autographed. So, friends, I'm Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Conversation and legal tech evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. We have law firms, corporate legal, startups, and SMEs with world-class technology, software licensing, and tech training solutions. So, my first question, Rohit, you have had an impressive career spanning multiple top law firms. What's the biggest shift you have seen in banking and finance law over the years? I'm clubbing in 2 parts. What made you select banking and finance as a niche area?
Okay, so the first thing in last few years we have seen IBC coming into picture. Insolvency bankruptcy code came in 2016. I'm not out and out insolvency lawyer. However, that 2000 insolvency code plays an important role in restructuring transaction. Even normal transaction, it has an impact on negotiation and various governance. Second shift we have seen is private credit coming into picture. Private credit is now a lot of AIFs are investing in debt market or in giving debt to the companies. So these are two major shifts which I've seen in the last few years.
Wow. So, Rohit, you specialize in asset backed finance, external commercial borrowings, and restructuring. Which of these areas excite you the most and why?
I mean, to be honest, it's very difficult to pick your, it's like picking your kid, which one is better. Um, the complexity lies sometime in structuring your loan. So a simple asset back finance can also be very interesting if you have, a couple of SPVs. I started my career when I did a 35-year craft asset finance. So it really depends on the structure. I've done a lot of maritime financing, and most of them were ECBs. So ECB can be, you can say, is a big umbrella in which you can do asset financing and maritime financing. And restructuring is again a totally different ballgame. So it's very difficult to pick anyone, but it depends on people you're working with or complexity of the transaction.
Wow. So, Rohit, in banking law, negotiations can be intense. So, do you have a signature strategy when dealing with high stakes clients?
My idea is to close the deal. I think that's my primary focus. It's useless to argue a lot on whether this is reasonable or so. So you have to be very, very pragmatic when you're negotiating. At the same time, you have to protect your client interest. But one of the most important things as a transaction lawyer is to give a pragmatic solutions and don't get too bogged down with the academics and those technical terms. So it's a thin line when you have to give up something which your client, even sometimes you will tell your client that okay, this clause not worth fighting for. So it's very important to have that mindset.
Wow. So, Rohit, have you worked on complex cross border transactions?
Yes.
So, what's the most challenging deal you have handled and what made it stand out?
So I the two transactions I can think of. One was cross-border and one was domestic. In one cross-border transaction, I was working in IDFC at that time, and we took loan from OPIC, which is US government agency.
Yeah.
And that loan was to be used for on lending for our infrastructure project. OPIC, being a government agency, had some very strict documentations. They were very nice to explain why they had those clauses, but at the same time very reluctant in giving up even an inch. So it was interesting to negotiate them. And the point was, whatever covenants they asked us to incorporate in our loan agreement, we had to incorporate those in our on lending agreements. So when we lend, we use that money to lend to other people we have to use. So I have to negotiate with OPIC at one end, and then I have to negotiate with my internal stakeholder, making sure that whether they can include those covenants in their document, and then negotiate with our borrower. So that was interesting. And also another interesting point was the way OPIC was raising their money to finance us. So OPIC was using capital market in US to raise money and then giving it to us. And so it was also a very interesting journey in that particular transaction. Second transaction I did was a non-principal protected debentures issuance. So they are very, not very complicated, but slightly different than normal debentures. A non-principal protected debenture means that even if I default in paying those debentures, the investor can't take any action against me. So that kind of structure very, very rare, and it was and we negotiated with a very big FBI. Our client who was issuing those debentures, they negotiated with a big FBI. So it was very difficult not very difficult, but it was interesting to negotiate or design a document in which you essentially were saying that even if I don't pay you, only thing you can do is take the security, but you won't have any action against me. So that was designing that particular document was very challenging and interesting. So these were the two transactions I can think of.
Wow. So Rohit, working on a high stake deals and with multiple stakeholders. So how do you work on the relationship part?
You have to be nice. I don't think it doesn't cost much to be a nice person in the room. It may seem very daunting when people are negotiating, and stakes are very high. But you can't be rude. You can't be ultra aggressive. You have to nice. You have to break the deal, because at the end of the day, because most of the people I work in now, I have done multiple transactions. I know lawyers with whom I have worked 7 transactions, 8 transactions. So I already know them, and some of them are my classmates and all. But at the end of the day, you have to be nice when you sit down, and you can't be rude. At the end of the day, everybody is trying to protect their interests, but transaction should happen, and it doesn't cost much to be a nice person in the room.
Wow, beautiful. Yes, relationship all about being nice, and afterwards we have to meet also. We're working in the same community, so yes, clients also common clients. So it kabhi na kabhi milna hi
you have to be assertive. I mean, I don't want to sound submissive in that sense, but you have to be assertive. But at the same time, avoid being aggressive. If you start fighting with people, it doesn't go well in long run.
So Rohit, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code (IBC) of 2016 was a game changer. How has it impacted your approach for restructuring cases?
So again, as pointed out, I don't do much restructuring. I've done few restructuring agreements and advise some clients in restructuring transactions, but I don't do COCs and all those kind of work. It has been very useful because before 2016, the promoters were not afraid. They were defaulting and they were not afraid because their idea was what you can do. Now, since you can change the control, you can take over the control, the things have changed. We see the negotiating power coming back to the lenders, which is good. And the approach, I would say, it's much easier, it's much fairer ground to negotiate any restructuring arrangement now than what it was before.
So Rohit, uh, how does a day look being a partner at Phoenix Legal for you?
Oh, Phoenix is a fantastic place to work. Um, I mean, I've worked in a number of law firms, as you know,
Yeah.
but one of the better places I've worked. So I normally, terminate. To be honest, I depends on what I have planned, because I sometimes I have a lot of meetings, so I don't even end up going to the office, so I work from home. The time when I have to go to office, I try to be there at office at 10 o'clock, 10:30, and it's normally long hours, and it has continued forever. I mean, to just give you an example, I normally don't have dinner with my family. So in weekdays, if I turn up during dinner time, I normally don't have food at table. So I have to order out. So because normally, I mean, I turn up, it's normally 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So it is largely 10 to 1 kind of arrangement. And if I have meetings, then sometimes I turn up early at home, and you know, I try to use technology more to manage team and work, because I don't like that, coming morning you have a call with the team, and then you're discussing what needs to be done, because it takes a lot of time. So I avoid doing that. I would rather have everything put in Teams calendar or planner, so that I can, track it. And I'm trying very hard with my team to ensure that I should just click and should know what the team is doing, what is the next deliverable in a transaction, rather than go and speak to them, boss, what are you doing, what needs to be done. However, it's taking time, but in an ideal world, I think going forward, that is what how my day want. I want my day to be. I like interacting with people, but sometimes I feel that when you interact with people, especially with the team, too much, you waste time. So it's rather I arrange, have everything in team planner, and track your deadlines that way. Uh, I hope I manage to do it next. I hope I'm able to answer your question also.
Yeah. You answering two, three questions together.
Mm.
Like my next question was mentoring,
Mm.
but okay,
No,
you
mentoring is a very different. I mean, you can ask. Sorry.
yeah. Okay. I mean, some of part you have answered, but let me
Mm.
frame it, and so you can add more value to the question. Uh, so you have worked at various law firms. So how do you now mentor young associates at Phoenix Legal who aspire to make a mark in finance law with your experience? Because you have come through various law firms and you have a wealth of experience built up over the years.
So I mean, okay, I don't know whether I should take names, but I worked at Barucha, and Barucha had a very, Justin particularly had a very nice system of working. At that time, I used to hate it because it was so mechanic, so robotic. It felt so robotic. But now I appreciate it more when I'm working here, and I've worked in other places, because it's the organization at the best. So how you organize is something which I've picked up from probably Barucha. And there are other things I picked from the other firms, and some things I picked how you should not behave also from few of my other firms. Like for example, IDFC, I picked up how to be, nicer. That environment was very nice. So what I try to do is you have to mix things, right? I mean, and not everybody is same. So even when you're training your junior, you have to be mindful of everybody has their own pluses and minuses.
Yes.
So you can't be like, for example, drafting is one thing. Drafting is an art. It's
Yeah.
not a key 1+1 is 2. It's not, that's not how drafting works. So you have to encourage your like sometimes people refer children, but I don't think that's the right word. But you have to encourage your team to draft in a way. You have to encourage. I think I encourage my associates to read, and I'm not talking about reading law books. I tell them to read good literature. So it's very important to do that kind of training as well. You have to tell them, ki boss, when you write, you have to use classic narrative, which means you are not you are showing them something. So those kind of things you have to do basic level. So unfortunately, I think one of the things we miss at in law school is teaching kids how to write that. And our most of our work is communication,
Yeah.
especially with the IT coming into picture and all. You have to teach your kid, your associates how to communicate clearly. So that is one thing I emphasize. Second thing, especially with the new generation,
Yeah.
you can't scream. And I have grown up in an environment when I was screamed at very often. But and becomes it becomes a DNA. It seems like this is the way you have to train people,
Yeah.
and you have to break that chain as a partner of a law firm, as a senior guy sitting there. I have to break that chain, and it's very difficult because that's the only way you have seen people being trained. So you have to break that chain, and I'm consciously trying to break that chain because there have been occasions when people have come and cried in front of me, not because of me, because of somebody else said something to them. And so I've consciously taken a route whenever I speak to my juniors not to scream at them. Uh, treat them as adult, right? Basically, and all we all make mistakes. So the question is how you can come back from that mistake. And it is very unreasonable to think that a person who is AO or even A4, A5, A6 will not make a mistake. They are bound to make a mistake. The question is how you gonna handle it, and you have to train your associates so they make less and less of mistake. But thinking that they will never make a mistake is that's not going to happen. Means even if I make mistake, so you have to have that patience, and that's something which I learned from Savan, for example. So that patience part. Justin, I learned you how to be organized. So in that sense, I'm very grateful for my people I've worked under, and they kind of shaped the way I approach. Like for example, there's another guy I worked with, Raju, and Raju was extremely pragmatic, one of the most pragmatic lawyers I've met. And I worked with somebody called Selvaraj. Selvaraj is a very, very knowledgeable lawyer. So I've been lucky that I've been Santosh, even Zia for that matter, although I interacted very less with Zia. But all these guys gave me how to work, how to, kind of shape you. And I try my best to my junior, they learn fast, and I try to empower them. That's one more thing I try to do. So most of the time when they negotiate, I let them negotiate. I only interject when is necessary. Uh, and they feel they behave very differently when you give them power.
Wow. You're beautifully practicing mentoring because you have learned from so many mentors and you giving like mix skill sets. Wow, that is very beautiful. So Rohit, what's your role on the role of AI in legal documentation and due diligence? Do you see technology replacing human expertise in banking law?
See, technology has a very, very huge and important part to play. And I think there are number of literature on this also. There is a book called End of Professions. There is a book called End of Corporate Law. So I mean, but I think that's not going to happen. A lot of things will get replaced. Due diligence, I think, will be the first victim. Discovery, maybe litigation. Those things will definitely AI will play important role. I don't think AI will be able to replace something like preparing legal memorandum, advising on particular law. Because advising has a couple of things. One is your legal part, and one is your practical part. So, I mean, law may be written in a way, but there's also market practice. There is also, the way courts look at things. So those things I still, and sometimes when I was talking about closing deal, I don't think AI will able help you in negotiating in a way that closes a deal. So I think those roles will be there at least for next, at least till I retire, hopefully. But they are gonna make big difference the way we approach law.
Wow. So Rohit, you have worked with various legal tech tools. How have they impacted your work?
I'm working with Lucio. We recently got Lucio. I've worked with Lectra Comparison, which my team uses very, very often. LexisNexis have a commentary where you can do commentary research, which I think is brilliant. I have used ChatGPT quite a bit, although I've been largely disappointed with it. But I still use it, and whenever I get my answers, my I was trained when I was in 2000. I started my career in 2006. we had only Manupatra at that time, SSC Online Manupatra.
Yeah.
We used to have articles on web which were largely of questionable quality. I still use the approach which I used when I started my career, which is first go to Bare Act, second go to commentary, third go to Manupatra and all those searches. This is how I roll. Sometimes I take up a Black Law dictionary or something. Everybody has their own different way. For example, Justin has used to say start with the case law. So everybody works differently. Now, for example, since I have LexisNexis on my laptop, so I start there. Bare Act and LexisNexis, SSC Online, LexisNexis. And in the end, whenever I've completed my research, I usually check or cross-check with ChatGPT. So that is how I use it. Obviously, because I've used ChatGPT to get case laws, and those case laws are not there, or they said something completely different. And there is no shortcuts, because a lot of people they pick up commentary and they get something, and then they just quote it, but they forget to read the case law. So I think what technology will do, like LexisNexis does, is that when I reading a commentary, I can see the case law, I can click on it, and I can straight away go to case law. So I think it's brilliant. Technology is brilliant, but it doesn't take away the hard work which you have to do.
Finally, it is because, as you said, human lawyers have to be taught writing. ChatGPT or other tools can't teach you the writing part, the
Yes.
narrative part, because you're communicating something.
Yes.
They give you reference points.
They will give you reference points. So you have to be smart enough to. But they're very useful. I mean, even once, I don't think you can underestimate the value which these tools will provide you.
Yeah.
One question I have actually skipped. You asked earlier, why I choose banking and finance.
Yeah.
And I give you an answer. And answer is very boring. Not very boring. I tell you why I choose law to begin with.
Okay.
So my grandfather was a lawyer. My father was a lawyer. Both of them were tax lawyers. And my father told me very frankly when I got my 12th result, कि beta, you can only do law now because you have scored so low that nothing else is left. So I sat with MIT Law School, was starting up, and I sat for the exam, and I scored 17th rank. So I got a good rank. I got into the college. Largely it was a family business of sorts. Unfortunately, my father passed away before I could join or complete. I completed my law. Went for LLM, and I came after my LLM. My father passed away, so I was not able to take up his practice in that sense. But it was the way I was brought in. So that's why I did law. And the reason I moved to banking and finance is I didn't want to stay in Delhi. When I came back, I was in Delhi. I mean, I'm from Delhi. So I decided to come to Bombay, and I had done my LLM in banking and finance because I was in London, and all banking and finance structures and transactions do happen somehow related to UCL and London. So I mean, that's the reason I choose banking and finance. And when I came back, I moved to Bombay, and that's how I continued with this area.
Wow. So you covered most of my personal questions, but that's fine. So we are going to the next round and understanding Rohit as a person. What's a weekend activity you never miss, no matter how busy work gets?
So it's not a weekend activity, but it's at least once a month I try to do. Is I try to cook with my daughter, my elder one. She's 10 years old. She cuts tomatoes, and she doesn't cut onion because she hates cutting onion. She marinates chicken. She does all those things. We have tried making sushis as well. So she and I. This is very important for both of us. And then right now we watch movie also, cook food, watch movie. So we tend to do it once a month. I wouldn't call it a weekend activity. And very recently I started playing cricket again. So I try to do something like maybe go for training or play a match during the cricket. So that's my weekend activity. But of course, unfortunately, if there is work, everything has to be put on hold. And I'm not in a. I think no lawyer ever reaches that stage when they can say, "Ki, no matter what happens, I will do this." Even likes of, I'm not sure about Zia though, but even likes of Justin Savant, I've seen them. I've known them very personally in that sense, and they will take time out for work, and work take priority over everything else, which is sad in a way. I
Yeah.
mean, according to me, the health, family, work, but that's not how life goes.
Wow. Okay. What's a memorable or funny moment from law school that still makes you smile?
Okay, this happened when I was doing my LLM. I couple of I had my birthday was with another friend of mine, so both of us. Her birthday was I think 14th or 13th, so we both decided to have a birthday party together. And for some reason, I invited nearly everyone I knew, and 60 plus people turned up. And she had like 15. She was more popular than me actually. I mean, just want to clarify this. But she had like 20 guests, and I have 60 odd guests, and it was like a big party, like 60, 70 people party. And our hall of we had a hall of residence, and we had a big. So that was a very very interesting party. It went usually the parties at that time used to go till breakfast time easily. So that party went till 6:37 in the morning, and one guy actually sang in the party, which I always thought normally happens only in movies. But this guy stood up and he sang. And since it was at UCL, there were some European, there were some Americans. And they were like, "Does it happen in every Indian birthday parties?" And I was like, "No, this happened only once in my life." So that this stands out. I mean, it's happened when I was 24. Now today I'm 43. So it is like almost 18, 19-year old back.
So, are you still in touch with this friend?
No, unfortunately not. So, and to be honest, I do nothing wrong. You see, we were not very close. I met him a couple of times. Very nice person. And when you are young, it's easier to make friends because you're, that much approachable and adaptable. And I was going through a lot of things at that time because I was very new. I was in London. I was trying to live by myself. So I was one of those guys who can gel with nearly everyone there. And this guy was Indian and from Punjab somewhere. And so again, very different. I'm born and brought up in Delhi, so my worldview was very different at that time. So that still stands out.
So, who in your family or friend circle, Rohit, has had the biggest influence on your career success?
I don't know. To be honest. See, everybody played their own part, right? I mean, my father, as I pointed out, he said, "Ki boss, you can't do nothing. You do law." But to be honest, when I was since 10th standard, I had law in my mind. But that's one very important kind of a kick. Then my brother, he is always been a big support. My sister has always been big support. So these two guys and my mother, they have been. My uncles are also lawyers. So this being a lawyer was, I think after 10th standard, it was very clear in my mind that I want to be a lawyer. So it wasn't much. And there were a number of people around me who were lawyers, number of people around me who felt this is one of the best thing you can do with your life. So, but my brother has been very influential in the sense he has guided me a lot more, and he played kind of my father's role because my father used to be a bit sick after a point. So I think these two guys I think helped me in my career more.
Wow. So, Rohit, what's your guilty pleasure? Movies, food, or something else entirely?
So one thing right now I do a lot is gin. I've given a whiskey. I used to drink a lot of different kind of whiskey now, but I've kind of moved on from then. So I like gin and I like different kind of gins. So that is one thing. Second thing is books. I have a lot of books, and I know even if I try to read all the books which I have, I probably will not be able to complete it. And my wife is always complaining why you keep buying books, but I think that's again one thing I can't live without. I mean, every day I have to read at least 5 pages before I sleep.
Wow.
So books is second. Buying books, I won't say reading more than buying book is something I'm obsessed with.
Like me.
So there are a lot of unread books. There are a lot of books. See, I have a theory. Even if so, there are two kinds of book. One is unread,
Hmm.
totally unread, and one is you have read a couple of chapters and then you decided it's not worth your time. I regret unread books. I don't regret ki two chapters I read and I felt ki this book it doesn't. I don't want to read it any further. Uh, so for me that is another thing. And then food, I really like food. I like to cook. I like to eat, and I love non-veg food. So um, anything which is non-veg, I like to. So I mean, movies I don't watch so much now. I have not been to theater for a long time. But guilty pleasure I can think of is gin and books.
Wow.
Buying books more than reading it, to be honest.
Okay. So which type of books do you buy?
Everything. I mean, I like fiction more than non-fiction. And another range, another kind of book I like is a philosophical book which discusses philosophy. I remember I was reading this Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. It took me 1.5 years to read that book. It's a thin, it's an essay, it's a 135-page essay. It took me 1.5 years because it was so complex and so. I don't know. I probably understand only half of it now, or maybe 20% of it. But that is kind of book. It helps me to sleep also. So because I will read one page and I will sleep. So that is one thing we do. And very recently, my daughter and I, we both are reading Harry Potter. So my daughter has already read all the seven. I have only read two. So I'm going very, very slow as compared to my daughter.
Have to. Wow. So it's good to see a father daughter having so many things to do together, creating memories for her. That's very wonderful.
I mean, what else?
So my last one, which will be a googly one for you, Rohit.
Hmm.
Describe Rohit in one line.
This is very difficult. I don't know.
Do you want to call a daughter?
No.
Like
She calls me.
Amitabh does in KBC.
No, she calls me an egg.
Uh-huh.
So that is what new adjective I've got from her. So that's probably the one-liner.
Wow. So you're dedicating this episode to your daughter.
Not really, because I have two of them. So
Okay, then it will be difficult.
daughters. Because
Because Women's Day too, it's good to see it by spending time with your daughters, which is very
and
good.
it's a very important point you said is Women Day, because in my home right now, my dog and I are only two males. I have two daughters. I have one help, and I have my mother and my wife. So we're all women. So only two males are my dog. So and both my dog is treated much better than I am.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So let's go and have some fun. The rapid fire round. Corporate finance or structured finance?
Structured finance.
Okay. Boardroom negotiations or courtroom arguments?
I've never been to court, but so
I know. So you want to?
well, I think court. I attended once Ajay Jadeja's case when I was in college, which was fun and boring at both times. So at the same time, so I think boardroom.
Okay. Your favorite city in the world?
Melbourne.
Wow. The one thing that keeps you motivated?
What else is there?
You have to say.
I mean, so the one thing about Sisyphus was, again, just slightly philosophical.
Yeah, please.
When you so basically Sisyphus myth is you keep taking that stone up and then stone falls down and then you have to come down. So Camus said you have to smiling when you go down. There's nothing called motivation. You have to just go through those motions every day and make sure that you're smiling when you come down. So I don't think nothing motivates me like this. I would say money motivates me, but even that is untrue, to be honest.
Wow. Okay. Your answers are humorous. Go to comfort food.
Butter chicken.
One dish you aspire to make with your daughters?
Sushi.
Wow. Your favorite color?
Blue.
Wow. One lawyer, past or present, you admire?
There are a lot of lawyers and admire very different things about, and I'm talking about one I've worked with. I can't really say Mr. Palkiwal or Mr. Jethmalani. They must be brilliant lawyers, but I hardly know them. So I admire Justin Barucha, I admire Savant Singh, I admire Zia Modi. So these are three lawyers I can straight away think of. And there are a number of other lawyers who have big influence in my life. Um, Santosh, Raju. Uh, so I admire to be like them. But I don't want to be them. But I would like to pick up few things from each of them, and probably have my own version.
Wow. Chai or coffee?
Morning chai and the whole day coffee.
Okay, let's race. So you did well. As I said, you were witty, funny, and humorous. So here's a gift.
Thank you.
Smart. Been autograph. So many special moments for you on your birthday.
Thank you.
So friends, it was a lovely, humorous conversation we had with Rohit. He said, "Okay, this is his first time he's doing an interview, podcast, or conversation, but I loved it. This whatever time we have spent, it was really engaging and one of my memorable episode which I've hosted. So, friends, you want to go into banking and a finance law, this is the episode Rohit has shared the secrets, and he has learned from so many mentors, influencers from the legal world, and picked up and imparted to in his mentorship to his young associates at Phoenix Legal and wherever he has been. So he has empowered them with all the knowledge, all the experience which he has gained during his years. So that's very beautiful of empowering, leading them. This is what the episode, the coffee conversation, all about. Our coffee speakers inspires, and we learn to get continue a conversation with them. So there are 350 plus coffee conversation episodes at the channel. Subscribe, get inspired, and if you want to be featured like Rohit, visit our website, the Emerging India Forum, or our LinkedIn page, the Emerging India Forum, and our team will invite you to have coffee conversation. Thank you.